missile that would hit the United States. Good God, Korolev! Do you mean we just launched a missile that might accidentally land on the United States? Well, what goes up must come down. It's just a matter of gravity, unless it reaches orbit. This was not a time for a physics lesson. Damn it, Korolev! If your silly satellite stunt winds up starting World War III, they'll be hell to pay. I promise you, hell to pay. As if there would be any of us left. But you know how the generals are. How do the French say? Say okay. An hour had passed. The whole room fell silent. All you could hear were the people breathing and the static over the loudspeaker. And more static. And then, down in the white noise, we heard it. That was it. We scarcely could believe our ears. And then louder. Oh, we had done it! The whole room erupted in cheers and hugs. I saw tears streaming down the faces of grown men, of engineers. Engineers don't cry. But the engineers cried that day. I know. I did. I had been waiting my whole life for that one moment. For the tiny Oh, they wanted me to make a speech, they cried. So I did. I don't make speeches. But that day, I made a speech. Today, the dreams of the best sons of mankind have come true. The assault on space has begun. Just thinking about that day still brings tears to my eyes. Perhaps I need a break. Why don't we all take a break? You can look around the laboratory and don't worry, there's nothing you'll see we don't want you already to see. The guards, they will tell you when to come back. And when you come back, I will tell you how we are going to put a man on the moon. A Russian man. But I will need more tea for that. All right! Ah, is everyone back? Did the guards take a count? We don't want anyone wandering away from the group, now do they? Not that you can get far around here. So, where were we? Oh, yes! Ah, Sputnik, the beep, beep, beep. I am told that you Americans heard the beep, beep, beep as well that day. In some ways, you heard it clearer than we. It was front-page news all over the world. Ooh. I still have copies here today, yes. New York Times, the Manchester Guardian, the Figaro of France, and let's see here. This is the one I like best, Los Angeles Times. My reading of the English is not so good. Perhaps, sir, you could read this little paragraph here. It is circled in red. I like red.
The Soviet achievement is immense. It demands a psychological adjustment on our parts towards Soviet military capacity, and perhaps most of all, the relationship with the world what is beyond.
Oh, I like that a lot. Perhaps, sir, just read that last sentence that is underlined here. Just one more time, nice and loud for everyone.
Perhaps most of all, the relationship of the world what is beyond.
Oh, what is beyond? I like that. My generals, of course, they like the part about military capabilities. But I like what is beyond. Oh, and the French, well, they used words like humiliation. The French love to stick it to you Americans, don't they? Oh, and did you know we were on the front page of Pravda, too? That is our Moscow newspaper, yes. Down in the corner, labeled under task reports, we didn't even rate a headline. Just a roundup of the news agencies. That's how big it was. Look for yourself. Oh, you don't read Russian? Shame. So, a little bit. Someday you will all read Russian. I will translate for you. In the course of the recent years in the Soviet Union, scientific research and experimental construction work on the creation of artificial satellites of the Earth has been going on. This is worse than some scientific reports. I mean, they had no idea, did they? No idea at all. You Americans understood. The whole world understood. But Moscow, they still did not understand. We had done this thing in the name of the Soviet people. And the Soviets were the last to appreciate it. Oh, once the politicians in Moscow saw how shocked the whole rest of the world was, well, then we got our banner headline the next day in Pravda, listing all the congratulations that were pouring in. Personally, I think Khrushchev was baffled by the whole thing.
Who would have thought? We have spent millions of rubles on the Russian military, and it's some little scientific stunt they're impressed by.
Well, perhaps we should have spent more rubles on rockets, huh? But I will say this about Khrushchev. I know we shouldn't say his name, but I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. Khrushchev! We're all still here. Khrushchev may have not understood science or engineering or sometimes much of anything. But he understood the value of propaganda. And we had just given him the best propaganda he could have dreamed of. He called me up to Moscow for another briefing. I don't think I have ever seen a man so happy. You know what he said?
Oh, Carl, wow! Oh, we never thought you would shoot Sputnik before the Americans. But you did! Now please launch something new into space for the next anniversary of our revolution.
Launch something new. He was like a child asking for a birthday present. And for the next anniversary of our revolution that was in a month. A month! Who would be so crazy to think that we could launch something new into space in a month? And Khrushchev didn't want, he wanted something special. He wanted something bigger than just a little sphere with a radio transmitter in it. He wanted something that would
Outdo ourselves.
And who was I to disagree? How else were we ever going to get to the moon unless we kept outdoing ourselves? Oh, that was a crazy time. There was no time for checking and rechecking. Everything was first draft. Our engineers, they would draw up the plans and give them straight to the factory workers, and we just hoped it worked. And it did. With the next Sputnik, we launched a dog into space. That was the Laika I spoke of, poor thing. But it was a Soviet dog. The first living thing in space was a Soviet. And that is what mattered to Khrushchev. Oh, those were the days, those were the days. After Sputnik, everything changed. Before, we were just making missiles to attack you Americans, but after, after we were still making missiles to attack you Americans, but we were also making rockets to go into outer space. And there seemed to be no limit to how far we could go. At last, the moon seemed to be within our grasp. And we reached out for it like a thirsty man reaches for a bottle of vodka greedily. Until he is stone cold drunk. In 1958, the first full year of the space race, the first full year, we launched 4 rockets to the moon. 4. All failed, of course. But we tried 4 times. Officially, well, those missions have no name. They do not exist. You know how we are. We only acknowledge our successes. Let you Americans put your Plopniks on the front page. We either deny our Plopniks or declare them successes anyway, like Luna 1. It sailed, whoop, right by the moon. It was supposed to land on the moon. Did you know that? Someone made a math error and it sailed right by the moon. Well, I was angry, furious. What kind of idiot makes a math error on something like that? I wanted to find out who he was and sack him on the spot, but Moscow declared it something we intended to do all along. And Khrushchev called it a victory for socialism. And who was I to argue with the General Secretary, huh? I mean, we came close to the moon. It was something no one had ever done before. And that's what Khrushchev liked. Things that had never been done before. I mean, he cared nothing for science. He just liked the spectacle of it all. And truth be told, so did I sometimes. Then there was Luna 2. Bullseye! Just 10 kilometers east of the Sea of Serenity. A crash landing, to be sure, but it was the first man-made object to ever reach another world. And then Luna 3, which took the first pictures of the far side of the moon. Here was something no one had ever seen before. And then this delivery man comes to my door.
Delivery for Comrade Carlet.
What is this?
The delivery man shrugged. From Paris, that's all we've been. Oh,
Paris? Who do I know in Paris? Who knows me? Somehow, this got through. Oh. A case of French wine. It seems 2 gentlemen in Paris had made a little capitalistic wager. One bet no one would ever see the far side of the moon. Once we Soviets had done it, he had to pay up. And fortunately for us, he was considerate enough to share his bounty with me. I mean, with us. Of course, I shared it with my whole staff. In fact, I have a bottle left. Perhaps you would care for some. Oh dear, it's all gone. Well, I guess it's good that I am not much of a drinker. My staff must have taken care of it for me. Speaking of drinking, have I told you my other Khrushchev story? I know. A lot of people thought Khrushchev was an embarrassment, like some kind of ignorant, ill-mannered peasant. Whether you like it or not, history is on our side. We will bury you. We will bury you. Well, he was an ignorant, ill-mannered peasant. But that is beside the point. He did not need to be a rocket scientist. I was a rocket scientist. Correction? Rocket engineer. Scientists are theoreticians. Engineers, we turn theory into reality. But I will tell you what Khrushchev was. He was a politician, and a good one. For what? Oh,
Coral, no! Oh, come here, comrade. I have a little favor to ask you.
A little favor. When a politician asks for a favor, we all know what that means. And Khrushchev, he would not just come up to you and shake your hand. He would grab you around the shoulders and put you in a big bear hug like this. Oh, I felt like he was crushing me. I could scarcely catch my breath. And I know I have a bad heart, but those times with Khrushchev. Oh, but so Khrushchev says,
Oh, Korolev, you know, I am going to the United States next month. I am going to give a speech at the United Nations.
and he still has me in this bear hug like this.
So, do you think you could shoot off something while I am there? Something special.
Something special. Well, this time I was ready for him. Well, we have a satellite ready we could send to Mars. You see, I was already thinking about Mars. The moon was just a way station. Mars was where we really wanted to go. So Khrushchev says,
I don't care where it goes. Just as long as it goes off. Well, I am at UN. And to make it something special.
well, Mars is certainly special enough, sir. Of course, I would have preferred it if Khrushchev could appreciate the engineering challenges involved in lighting off 253 tons of liquid fuel in a controlled burn without blowing up half of Russia. But you work with what you have available. Some people think I had my way with Khrushchev. Those people are liars. They wouldn't know the truth if it smacked them in the face like a rotten sturgeon from the Caspian Sea. But perhaps there is a bit of truth in that. There was that time. That was the story I was getting to. The time when Khrushchev came to visit our new cosmodrome. Oh, Mr. Premier, sir, can I get you another vodka?
No! You can get me 2 more!
He was like that, too. I mean, those are the nights I am glad I am not a drinker. Because the more vodka he had, the more tea I had. It was not a fair fight, you realize. So, Comrade General, Premier, sir, what did you think of your tour of the Cosmodrome today? Did you like the test site? Here is where we are making history. And Khrushchev says,
Here is where we are making socialist history.
so I propose a toast of my own. Soviet history. And then Khrushchev says,
Here is where we will destroy imperialism.
and I say, here the Soviet people will blaze a trail through the cosmos. By that time, the Secretary General was quite drunk, and I was still quite sober. So, Comrade General, no, Korolev, tell me, what do you need? Tell me, I will
Sign the paperwork right away.
That was the moment I had been waiting for. I had them all ready, the papers. Here are some decrees that I have had drawn up, and a pen. It is the engineer in me. I like to be prepared. Khrushchev was so drunk, he signed them all without ever reading a single one.
Let me sign, let me sign. Signed, signed, signed. Here tonight we are dealing a death blow to imperialism. Oh, yes, we are. More vodka, Korolev, more vodka.
Well, I don't think it quite happened like that, but it does make a good story. And it is true. I did get Khrushchev to sign for 75 million rubles in one night. while his generals sat there drunk on their ass. They didn't have the balls to speak up. They could have gotten 75 million rubles for their projects too. How do you Americans say, no bucks, no Buck Rogers, or is it no Buck Rogers, no bucks? Well, I suppose it works both ways now, doesn't it? I suppose in some ways we Russians are very like you Americans. But we are very different in other ways. When you Americans looked into space in the 1960s, what did you see? You saw us. Suddenly, your President Kennedy is making speeches, vowing to close the missile gap, vowing to put a man on the moon. It was like all of a sudden, you Americans were suddenly fascinated by the idea of space. But when my generals looked into space, you know what they saw? Well, they saw nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Oh, it's very risky. It's very expensive. It's a stunt, nothing more. We need to get back to the business of building missiles.
And I needed to get back to the state commission to get the next permission for the next logical step. You know what the next logical step is, don't you?
Ah,
Of course you do. Anyone with any common sense could see it, which meant the generals would not.
oh, yeah. I am told by some of the doctors that it's quite impossible that the man would likely go mad.
More likely, he would simply black out from the gravitational stress of launch.
Well, the truth is, these rockets of Korolev, they're quite inefficient as ICBMs. Oh, they take hours to fuel and they're sitting ducks for the Americans. The truth is, these old rockets of Korolev, the only thing they're good for is shooting into space. I wouldn't be surprised if he designed them that way on purpose.
Can I help it if there are certain design issues involved? But the generals were always clucking about like mother hens.
Oh, these test flights with dogs proven nothing. Dogs are senseless to begin with. Didn't a test flight with a dog burn up on the re-entry? Well, I am told that one test vehicle got stuck up in orbit and could not come back down. What if that were to happen with someone on board? Oh, well, we would be embarrassed in front of the whole world, in front of the Americans. Not to mention the waste of a good test pilot.
Oh. And it always came back to their missile, their beloved missile.
As far as I'm concerned, these space shots of Korolev are a threat to national security. If we were throwing away rubles on space, we could be spending them on our military. No, we just have to sell this idea to Khrushchev. Ha! What is next on our agenda? Ah, this Cuban missile proposal. Ah, now that looks quite interesting.
That is what I was up against, what I have always been up against. Oh, don't worry. Those generals, they knew exactly how I felt about them. What could they do? Throw me back into the gulag? You know, it is a wonder that we did anything. And if it were not for Khrushchev, we might not. But we did get our cosmonauts, now didn't we? I picked them out myself. Oh, welcome to the Cosmodrome, my little falcons. I call them my little falcons because they were like sons to me. Let's see, who do we have here? Belayev, Tchaikovsky, Gagarin. So you are Gagarin? I thought you might be. So then we have Gorbatko, Komarov, Leonev, Nikolaev, Popovich, and Tito. Good. I'll get right to it. You all know why you are here. In 4 days, one of you will be the first man to go into outer space. The rest of you will all follow in the months to come. We are making history here, comrades. History for all mankind. Do you know what I am looking for in a cosmonaut? Patriotism, courage, modesty, iron will, knowledge, and love of people. Cosmonauts must have all of these qualities. Now, if you will follow Titania there, she will take you to medical tests. Very good. You'll notice that I did not say a cosmonaut must have love of party. That would be something Khrushchev would say, not me. This was not about politics. This was about all mankind. The first man in space had to be the right sort of man. He would be an example for generations. He had to be, how you Americans say, a poster boy. Of course, I was studying all the reports on them. And Yuri Gagarin, he was the poster boy. Oh, he was handsome, cool under pressure, a good pilot. Not that there'd be much flying, it was all on autopilot anyway. He had what you Americans say, the right stuff. Oh, how could I ask for more? I will never forget the day of the launch. We were waiting for Gagarin, and I needed to speak to him. But all the generals came pouring in like nervous schoolgirls, their hands wringing.